Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Pat, how are you? What's happening?
You know, I never have anything to report.
You have nothing.
But, news broke right before the show started because my cat pissed on my couch. So that's breaking news. So
no way. Was that the first time in weeks now?
It's been a while, but my outdoor cat has started coming in and hanging out a little bit more. Oh. I think that's why it's a little
like the territorial stuff.
Territorial beef. But right before the show started, I sat on the couch and I'm like, what's that cool wet feeling? I don't know what that is.
Okay, you're so good because that would have been all I talked about with you in studio before the show for the last half hour, and you didn't even mention it.
It's irrelevant. I don't care. I mean, I clean it up, spray. I want it to stop, but it's not like, what are you going to do? Throw the cat out? Like,
how long have you known that cat anyway?
I mean, a year straight. But you know how they always have those videos of like, this is where the cat picked you or whatever, and these people find the cats. I literally have the opposite. I stole this cat from a family of like 15 cats at my parents' house. It's out of control. Yeah. But it loved the outside. It was living a great life. They had a whole pack of them. And now he's in my little miserable apartment. So I'm like, I feel a little like guilt.
Well, that's very nice of you. Yeah. That's very nice of you.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm much better than you, it turns out, because would really, I would have a hard time with that. But I admire your equanimity in this situation and that you're going with the flow. I could learn from you.
Learned helplessness.
I am good. It is really hot here. It's like 100 degrees. And I am trying to focus on everything but the sinking feeling, the pit in my stomach, because my younger son Xander leaves for college on Sunday, and Sunday night on our show I'm going to be a little bit of a mess. I'm just letting you know.
We'll drink our way through it.
Well, that I figured that's what we would be doing. Yeah, that sounds good. That definitely sounds good. Oh my goodness. For some reason it just refreshed and I see all of these people. Hello, everybody. Hello. It's so good to see all of you. After Monday, sorry, because I just went, after Sunday, Adria wrote and suggested that we watch Matewan, the John Sayles movie, which I'd seen when I was really young, about the coal miner strike in the union. I think in like 1917. It's so good and so relevant. And the very first movie set I was ever on was a John Sayles movie. He was filming in Cincinnati, a movie called City of Hope. He and his wife, and they were lovely. It was, low budget. At the same time, there was also a Jodie Foster movie called Little Man Tate. And I was in Cincinnati over the summer. This was, 1989. And I'd never, I've wanted to be an actor since I was 3. I'd never been on a movie set before. And I got to be on 2 that summer. It was so much fun. But the difference between like a small independent film with the husband who had written and was directing and the wife who was producing, and she was so hands-on, and like, it was just really cool. So he's like running food banks now in Vermont. So we're going to try and get him on the show.
Why are there good people in Vermont? What is this state all about? I need to check this out. Although Bernie, not anymore.
I mean,
but still, they seem like such a good place. You hear all the good stories of all these people living in Vermont.
So. Absolutely. Yeah. That might be where we all head at some point. That's the commune. All right, let's start with our cheers to our wonderful members, our pup heroes and sheroes. You guys are awesome. It's so much fun to be able to do 2 shows a week, and that's because of you guys. So thank you. We are so grateful. So cheers to all of you. Thank you. And a reminder, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Smash that notification bell. Pat's favorite part of the whole show.
Punch it up.
Punch it up.
While we're on the cheers, and absolutely thank you guys. We can do 2 shows a week now, thanks to membership, and it helps offset all the costs of the show. So It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
But along with you, we want to give cheers to somebody who was actually on MSN BC.
Look at that.
They had a panel on there and somebody spoke a little truth. So that's a newsworthy.
Shocking. It was allowed. Let's hear it.
Her name is LaMarie Austin Stripling, and she's a voter in North Carolina.
All right.
Cheering on Kamala here.
Do you feel some kinship towards her as a mixed person?
Not personally. I find a lot of her trajectory to not be my brand of woman leader. We've got 3 major international crises going on and someone applying to be commander-in-chief. As a woman, I want to see you do more than, appeal to giggling and having a girl moment on the stage.
I love her. Love her. Good grief. I know, it's so gross.
Put that clip away. I'm going to hit it every time.
Every time. It's just going to make me vomit into my mouth. Reflect the Sun. Thank you. You are always gifting these Punch Up Pod memberships. It means so much and it really helps grow our ranks. So thank you. That is really amazing. And also want to thank our new member here, which I'm going to probably mispronounce your name if I don't put my readers on. Jup. Is that a J at the beginning? I think Jup Ashur Banipal. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Cheers and welcome. Yeah, that's where we are.
Absolutely.
Should we
let's start the show.
Catch it up. All right. This is we were trying to think of what the angle of today's show was, because so much just feels the same, day after day, week after week. But there, it just becomes more and more jaw-droppingly audacious when people are just like lying in our faces when there's clear evidence to the contrary. It's like, I don't know if that's gaslighting, just flat out lying. And we had already shown, because it just happened right before our show on Sunday, the clip of AOC in her shitty Instagram not response, but trying to bag on and bring the daggers out for Dr. Stein of the Green Party. But it's happening, obviously, everything having to do with Israel, working tirelessly for a ceasefire, and it's all on Hamas, who doesn't want the ceasefire, and who's the terrorists, and who has hostages, and who uses human shields, and who's using rape as a weapon of war. And so today's episode is mostly going to be calling out the exact opposite of what these disgusting
it's the gaslighting. I mean,
ghouls.
Look, I watch CNN all the time. I watch MSNBC all the time. I listen to NPR all the time, and I do that to see what narratives are being pushed to people. And I think even normal centricity people are starting to go, huh? Like, this doesn't match up with what I know. And I've already heard that debunked. Why are you saying that? So, I think we're breaking through. So I think people having more evidence to point to these issues and say, look, this is why you can't trust the media. This is why the Democrats are selling you out is important.
I agree. And having it at our fingertips. Like, I mean, each week, each show for me is kind of like a research project. And I love having all the graphics so that if I ever do venture onto Facebook, which I just can't really do anymore, but I have it all like, at the ready to provide backup. But the truth is, most people see all of that and their opinions aren't changed anyway. So
I shared this on Twitter this week, but speaking of Facebook, you just reminded me of it because I posted something on Facebook a couple of years ago, and my aunt or something, but it's kind of extended.
Okay.
she tagged my parents in. She's like to my mom, Mary, do you agree with that? What your son is posting?
Fucking cop.
And I just went off on her. I told her to get fucked. I went right to level fucking 20 and shredded her. And the reason it came up this week is I was having dinner with my folks and I told them about it.
And because they hadn't known. So this is one of the first things that you and I talked about when we first started hanging out. Doing the show and everything, because the same thing had happened with me in liberal Hollywood, right? All of these people would come to Josh, my husband, and show my posts on Twitter and like make him feel bad for what I was doing. Like he owns me. Jesus Christ. But I at least was aware that all that was happening. So you just told your parents that your aunt or whoever,
because that whole message, and I was just between me and her,
right?
You know, I told her to get fucked and blah blah blah, and like, who are you tagging my parents in for my opinion? And I'm a grown ass adult, blah. And like, why do I want all these Bernie haters now on my parents' Facebook page? Why would you do that? Like, but so anyway, I was at dinner with I was at home at my parents' house having dinner, and this lady always comes to their parties. Like every party they have, she comes there, which is why it's going to be really awkward. I'm like, you know, you should know I told her to get fucked. And they're like, good, we're sick of her shit. And I'm like, okay, that's a W. That is a W.
That's a big W. Cheers to that. Any excuse to have a little drink. Speaking of, before we get to all of the stuff, should we spin the wheel? Start with
let's do it.
All right, here we go. Oh no, don't look, Pat. We both have OCD in different ways, and Pat's are that the lines have to all line up. Okay, here we go. Yeah, baby. Look at that, your favorite. I'm gonna just keep on drinking. And
all right, all I could find this week was wholesome puppets. So they're actually, I'm sorry, I'll do better. They're wholesome.
Let's see it. That was adorable. Look how wholesome you are. People think
I hope we don't even get to the next one because the next one has a baby in it too.
Oh, I'll just start weeping.
It's disgusting.
All right. I mean, should we just, what we don't have right now, because we already watched it and nobody wants to have to watch that twice, but is the original post by AOC. Do we want to start there? Or, I mean, I can pull it up really fast, or do we want to just go into the response, assuming that probably everybody has seen it? It's a little bit incorporated also into.
So a quick recap is basically AOC laying on her bed, being a little bratty congressperson, feed, Instagram or TikTok, wherever it was for the kiddos. She's calling out the Green Party for not doing anything. She's like, Jill Stein shows up every 4 years, doesn't help down ballot candidates.
Predatory.
Not serious. Called her predatory. And she also said basically that, she thought Jill Stein was the Green nominee for the past 12 years.
Right.
Which shows, how are you a leftist and that ignorant that she wasn't the nominee last cycle?
Right.
Like, you're not how are you serious? And then she attacks her for not growing the movement. Like, why are you not growing the movement? Meanwhile, AOC is killing the movement.
100%. Yeah. I mean, she killed it for me for sure, but that's just anecdotal. But like, there's even, the least effective members of Congress. I mean, I don't even know what the actual metrics of that study were, but I'll take that headline because she has been effective, actually. She's been entirely effective at corralling Dems who want to believe that I believe everything. I'm totally on board with everything that Bernie stood for, but just now isn't the time. We have to be pragmatic. We have to take small steps. And she makes them all feel like they're doing the right thing.
And meanwhile, she's out there saying, Well, you can't elect Trump because he'll finish the job. Finish what job, AOC? What job? What job? The job you're currently doing, which is genociding people in Israel. So don't elect him to finish the job. I mean, you're going to finish. Kamala's going to finish the job. Yeah. Like,
if you give
where's your opposition?
If you give her enough people in Congress, then she will sign your bill for Roe.
If you bring me
that's
a
the
bill.
big plan. Yeah. Okay, so I think everybody saw that, and it was just gross. And as you said, she's sort of lying on her back, and the angle is from above, which just does not feel serious. If you want to talk about serious, and you're like, the Green Party actually stands for the whole platform that she pretends to endorse. So maybe don't be so obvious that you've thrown the whole left under the bus and now you're just a shill for the Democratic Party. And they're obviously concerned, or they would not be putting her out, because as ineffective as she's been at policy, she still is nationally sort of popular. And that is why they are bringing her out as the so-called progressive squad member, who, Ilhan Omar just distanced herself from.
And the world is, it's changed. The need for a third party is patently obvious to the public. I mean, the public is no longer in this delusion of like, we have to pick one of these two. Well, they do think we have to pick one of these two, but they know it's not a good system. And it's dramatically changed.
It's a horrible system. And they work in that. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways to get into this. Okay. So just for the setup that we all know, and this is what, they pretend isn't happening. It's the same thing. Like, well, if people love Bernie so much, why didn't they vote for him in the primaries? Well, the primaries were rigged. No, they weren't. You're just a sore sport. What am I saying? Bad sport, whatever.
Spoiler.
And then in 2016, after, Tom Perez and Elizabeth Warren, and there was a law case brought where the Democratic Party said it's a private party, we're allowed to rig the primaries. Then people, the same people are like, they weren't rigged, say, oh, well, of course, it's a private party. They're allowed to win. They want to win. So U.S. states make it tough for third parties in elections. Getting on state ballots is challenging and expensive thanks to a patchwork of U.S. laws designed by Republicans and Democrats. In many cases, outsider challenges can seek to qualify, but not all states have multiple options. And Democratic and Republican candidates automatically get on the ballots due to state laws that reward parties for voter support during previous elections, which is one of the reasons that Jill Stein they have to put up a presidential nominee each time, or they would lose ballot access for future. They'd have to start from scratch then. In addition to wanting to get a certain percentage to get federal funding, to get a certain percentage to get on the debate stage, all of those things matter. Right. So, should we show Jill Stein's response to?
Yeah, let's show her response. I mean, we have stuff we can show. We have a lot of stuff regarding this, but let's let her talk first, and then we'll see.
Project for us this week.
I should have done that first. I'm just kind of going rogue here.
That's all right. I like it. Listen. I too can. Be capricious.
Oh, I don't even know that word. What's that mean? I don't know.
You're just showing up once every 4 years to do that. You're not serious.
Whoops.
You're not to me, it does not read as authentic. It reads as predatory.
Jill here. I'm about to board, but very quickly, I just wanted to thank AOC Pelosi so very much for her very authentic concern about growing green power. Clearly, AOC is the attack dog du jour, and the Democrats are running scared, and they should be, because who wants to support a genocide? Who wants to vote for a genocide? And if there's anything that's predatory here, it's saying that your candidate is working tirelessly for a ceasefire when actually they are actively funding and arming genocide and actually refusing to even consider an arms embargo, which would bring the genocide to a screeching halt. AOC, who's supposed to be in leadership of the Democratic Party, it's amazing if she doesn't know about the anti-democratic tactics and strategies that the Democratic Party uses to crush and silence political opposition. They've been hiring an army of lawyers to throw competitors like me off the ballot. They've been hiring infiltrators and saboteurs and publicly posting job advertisements for those positions. They've been hijacking our public funding in order to keep us off the ballot. And they actually impersonated the Greens to throw us off the ballot in 22 in the Senate race for North Carolina, for example. How is that not fraud and election interference? Also, what's predatory here is stealing the signature issue of the Greens. Our Green New Deal launched in 2010, appropriated by AOC as her signature issue in 2018 without a mention of where it came from. So bottom line is Americans want more choices. We are that choice. We are the one choice, which is anti-war, anti-genocide, pro-worker, climate emergency. Check us out, JillStein2024.com. Thanks so much.
Yeah, she's pretty great. I mean, really, I love her. And you know, I was listening to Breaking Points today, and it was really a bummer because their takeaway was Ryan Grimm and Emily Jerskowski. I'm going to say it wrong. And he used to be a Green Party member. He was pro, Nader in 2000. And he kept saying, like, they haven't grown their party. And first of all, that's not entirely true at all. Like, they actually have. And they do have people in office people are like, oh, why did are we both pressing the button at the same time? Yeah.
No.
Greens in office, at least 143 Greens hold elected office in 20 states across the United States. And, it takes money. So when you have the Democratic Party suing you in every state with their $500 million that they've gotten in the past 4 weeks, for coordinating Kamala Harris, and then they get to work trying to sue the Greens off or challenge every single signature. Like,
if
it's a
they
self-fulfilling
put
prophecy.
the Greens through $20 million worth of legal challenges, that all that money could go towards advertisements and making people more aware of Jill Stein and the Green Party, and it could help down ballot candidates and yada yada. But that's the whole purpose. In every state, almost every state, they challenge the ballot access with frivolous lawsuits, which I don't know if you know how people know how law works, but like, you call a lawyer up and it costs you a couple $100 when you talk to your lawyer who's on, it's just ridiculous.
The whole point is they're trying to, kneecap them in every different way. Legal fight over third-party ballot access reveals flaws in the two-party system. Georgia,
Atlanta. But here she is winning in Wisconsin. Yeah. She's winning all these cases because they're all frivolous. They're not bound in any law. There's no law it's all bullshit.
Exactly. But they will go through, like, there's a certain number of signatures you have to get. And often they'll do double the number because they know they're going to be challenged on every single signature, and that is the kind of thing that you do when you are afraid to run on your own platform because it's not popular. Otherwise, you just run on your policies.
Well, you have to stop these people to preserve democracy. But she is helping down ballot. Here she is. This was in 2020 for Lisa Savage.
Standing next to me. And then I know she was also helpful with Matthew Ho, is who she was talking about, who we had on the show, friend of show, who said that after his candidacy, he'd come back on and actually drink with us. But and people, it was so dishonest and disgusting I think was that North Carolina, Matthew Ho, I think, that people would complain that they were Green Party voters, that they were getting knocks on the door from someone saying they were from the Green Party and trying to dissuade them and tell them why they shouldn't vote for Matthew Ho. It was so outrageously dishonest.
And that brings me to something I was thinking about, what's her name? Blakely. We were just talking about her, who also had she had a almost 3-hour conversation with Jason Call, who's Jill Stein's campaign manager.
Right.
Because she had a lot of the same views that AOC had, kind of like, what have you done? Why aren't you leveraging your vote?
Right.
And her whole point was, why don't you leverage dropping out of the race to get a ceasefire. And it's like, if you do that, you let down all the chances of future third parties and set them back exponentially. But but what I wanted to say regarding that was that she brought up a lot of the hateful comments she gets from Green Party members. And I swear to God, 75% of them are bullshit non-Green Party members, just like they used to do that with Bernie people. They'd make a pro-Bernie account on Twitter and they'd be out there being racist and sexist. And people in the same threads would always be calling that person out, saying, that's not Bernie of you. That's
Exactly.
But that's what's happening to her with these Green Party people. Now she's getting some legitimate backlash, but I think most people recognize you don't support your candidate by
being an asshole to possible
a complete asshole.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And absolutely. To her credit, she even acknowledges that, but she still holds it against, you know, she's like, I know some of them are fake, but like, why are you guys doing this? And
meanwhile, like every Democrat who's an actual real person who I either know in real life or know is a real person treats anybody to the left of them as if we are pieces of shit on the ground that they found on their shoe.
Yeah, I mean, it's different when it comes from actual party people.
Exactly.
Up and down the like blue check DNC insiders versus first name bunch of numbers Green Party member.
Let's see why they might be calling out their attack dogs. So right now, Jill Stein is even with Muslim voters between her and Kamala Harris. And we know especially that that's going to be a big problem in some of the swing states, right? And whatever Kamala thinks that she accomplished by saying, you know, we must have a ceasefire, and yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but the way it does is also important and all that, as she tells everybody any chance she gets that she's not in favor of an arms embargo. The abandoned Biden people have now just changed their name to abandon Harris. Like, you're not going to get the support of people who are against a genocide. And
it's even hitting mainstream media. I pulled this clip. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, actually. Sorry, I didn't explain it. But this was on MSNBC or CNN. I don't remember.
Okay, let me just say why you're so funny. Not only did I pull it, it was already up there labeled properly. And when I came into the studio, I saw that you had also pulled it, and yours wasn't even in the section it was supposed to be. So I deleted yours. Yeah, I pulled it, Pat. Don't worry.
Mine's better, though. Mine's better.
Let's
go ahead. Play your clip. Let's see your clip.
I'm just going to drink a lot. Okay.
No, we have to get a deal done.
For real?
We have to get a deal done.
And Michael, is that enough? Is that going to be enough to sort of unite the factions inside her party?
Probably not, because she's backing President Biden's approach to the war in Gaza, which has been the subject of this controversy and of this criticism, particularly among those Arab Americans, progressives, folks like we've seen the uncommitted vote in Michigan. So Vice President Harris standing by President Biden, not showing any parity in terms of their stance and how they would approach the war, probably not going to help with that criticism. But I think that the main question here is that the Harris campaign is betting that this bloc of uncommitted voters, the progressive voters, are going to, at the end of the day, vote Democratic and side with Vice President Kamala Harris, because the alternative, former President Trump, in their eyes, is worse for the situation in Gaza. Now, they're rolling the dice and betting that they will show up because they think that the alternative is worse. That's sort of what we saw with the DNC last month, where a Palestinian American did not speak at the convention. That came under very sharp criticism from progressives. But again, Democrats plowed ahead and did not give them a speaking slot, likely because they figure that at the end of the day, they will show up despite this divide. It's a very large bet to make, especially among this very dedicated, uncommitted vote group and in a key swing state of Michigan. But this just seems to be how the campaign is playing this issue about 2 months out from Election Day.
Reese, what is your reaction to the campaign's message here?
So the campaign is basically, I mean, to Michael's point, they are kind of making a bet here. The fact that these voters are going to come back to them at the end of the day. But that's a big bet to make. These voters are extremely angry. You saw there were protests outside the DNC in Chicago, and so they're very upset. They're angry, and I think it is kind of a bet to make, and it's risky to take on, because if these people don't show up for you and don't show out and don't vote for you, that's a voter block that you're losing. And in this tight election, those smallest of margins really can make a difference, especially in key pivotal states such as Michigan. And I think it's a big risk that they're taking.
Absolutely. Like you said, all about Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Can't afford to lose any votes there.
Not at all.
Michael Schnell, Reese Gorman, thank you so much for joining us.
So first, we want to thank Case Study QB because he's so good about always pulling these clips, and we use them almost every week. So shout out to him. One of the things I really appreciate about the framing of this, which happens so rarely, is both of those guests put the onus on Kamala and the Democratic Party, not on the voters. And that almost never happens.
That was kind of amazing to see, because you can't walk away with that and go, all you can think is the choice is hers. They've chosen to gamble, and they both use the gambling analogy that abandoning this angry base is a good move. And it's not paying off yet. Nate Silver is calling all these states for Trump.
That is actually way starker than the Real Clear Politics average, right?
Yeah, but but the average is based on polling.
Right.
This number right here is his prediction.
Right.
So when they say, where it's going to go, these two people were basically saying the Democratic Party is gambling it at the last minute. So no matter what all the polls say, people are going to go in there and go, oh, I'm so fucking scared of Trump.
Right.
And Nate Silver is saying, no, you're not. And, he's full of shit too.
I mean, it's so hard to know who can predict and all of that. But even in this, which is the aggregate of all these different polls, she's up well within the margin of error in all of these swing states. And she's not even, I think that's not even where Hillary was when those
she's
polls
way
happened.
Behind where
and
Biden was.
She's way behind Biden. And Biden only won by 40,000 votes, within those states that determine it. I know he got several million more because of California and New York, but in those swing states, it was a 40,000 vote margin spread across there. So, and he was way further up in those polls for the swing states. So, listen, anything could happen. Right now, from what I'm seeing, Trump is kind of not sure what path to take to attack Kamala.
Yeah, but
I wonder
think
what's going to happen when he finds his grounding. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
A lot of that's, I just don't see many upsides in the future for Kamala's campaign. She got her bump. They said she got no bump from the convention. None. That's
crazy.
Right? 0.0 bump from the convention. So her entire bump is you're not Biden, right? So that you got the people coasting on that. Then you got people who are like, well, she's going to be better on Palestine. So they're going to learn more about how she's not better on Palestine, unless she changes her policy. If she changes her policy dramatically enough, it's an automatic win, but she wouldn't. So she would just change it marginally. And I think she will probably in a few weeks have to put out harsher language or something, at least.
I mean, she'll withhold one shipment of arms or something. Yeah.
Right. But that's the real problem here is if democracy is at stake, you have the clearest way on earth to win this election.
Yeah.
The clearest way on earth to win this election is just say, you know what? We have to stop the funding. It's gone too far. We can't support what's happening over there.
Yep.
That's enough. And you don't even have to do anything about it. You just have to say when I'm running next time.
That is what's so crazy is she won't even make the promise. She won't even say the words. That's how much she knows. That's how much they've reeled her in. They chose her in 2017. They didn't choose her. Yeah, they didn't choose her because she's going to go against AIPAC or Big Pharma or oil companies, right? They chose her and coordinated her and took away the primary and forced Biden to have a debate earlier than has ever happened to reveal to the whole this is my own thing, but reveal to everybody that he is incapable. And then they slotted her in because now it was too late to have a primary, even though they denied they were going to have a, like all of the stuff, because she's not going to do any of the things, because you can't push her left, because she's already saying she's going to have, all of the lawyers who are anti-union and all of these Republicans in her cabinet are those the people who push her left? Who's pushing her left?
She's advertising as dramatically as possible that she is the farthest right Democrat we've ever fucking had.
Yeah.
She just came out and this is the big, we're supposed to be happy about this. So she wants less of an increase in the capital gains tax than Biden did. She's out there hey, this is my policy, less. I want to tax people less. The rich are getting less taxed.
Yep. And no ban on fracking, no Medicare for all, and genocide. It sounds excellent. Butch Ware also had a response to her, which was kind of fun.
Who we have to give credit to for the AOC Pelosi.
I know, I love it.
AOC
Pelosi. AOC Pelosi.
I heard a rumor that AOC Pelosi, holder of the land speed record for quickest betrayal of the people, has had something to say out the side of her neck about my sister soldier, Dr. Jill Stein, and called our behavior predatory. Interesting. See, we don't take no PAC money. We are not knee-deep in Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and y'all's blood money. So we can't come out every day. We come out every 4 years when it's time to give the American people a choice. And in the meantime, Greens are on the ground working in park and recreation boards, city councils, mayor's offices, while y'all are partying at your Met Gala and muzzling Palestinians. Predatory. Predatory is murdering 200,000 people in 11 months. And then when they try to speak up, muzzling them when they come up on the stage. You slaughter Palestinians like animals, and then you muzzle them like animals. And I have seen the data. We already know that you have lost Michigan. We already know that you have lost Pennsylvania. We already know that you have lost Georgia, and that's why you're panicking. You went from 65% of the Muslim vote in those places to under 20%. You're finished. Dead man walking, AOC Pelosi. And you saw the numbers, where 29% of Muslims across the nation are voting with Jill Stein and Butch Ware. And they haven't even seen us on the stage yet. Your cosplay activism, narc, means nothing to real public servants. Because y'all are some politicians that sold out for the dough. The worst part for you is that you never saw us coming. But when your party is broken, crashing and burning in the disastrous genocide, soaked in blood in your electoral defeat, you will have no one but to blame but yourselves.
Yeah, that's pretty great. What do you have to say against that? And I saw somebody, Zachariah, that Fetterman speeding into the kayfabe beat AOC. I agree with you, except that I don't know that he galvanized the left in the same way that AOC. I felt I was part of this movement 2018 and this squad. I didn't feel that about him in the same way, but yes, he's 100% a sellout. He had already done some things previously that I think, some people would already took exception to, but I agree with you. I mean, all these people who ran as progressives, and the second they see their career advancement possibilities and their financial possibilities, it's over. And yeah, that's why, and this is exactly why they will not let her on the debate stage or Butch Ware, because they're cowards and they cannot. God, Kamala can't back up a single thing that she says, or a single policy that she pretends to have.
Not only do we not get a Green on stage, which would absolutely disrupt the entire narrative that they're pushing, be a game changer. Just one election cycle with the Greens up there on stage would change things. But we're robbed of a primary. So there isn't even anyone to pretend to be left calling her out, locking her in a position. So that's why she gets to come out and go, you know what? We're against fracking now as Democrats. We're going to build the wall. The capital gains tax. We were too hard. We were trying to tax the rich people too much. So we're going to back off on that. I mean,
so
you name it. She's running as a tough on crime, California, top cop. She's proud of it now.
The border.
It would have been something she should be ashamed of if we had a primary to challenge her on her positions.
Yeah, she would. I mean, one 1 minute, slaying by Tulsi Gabbard ended her whole primary in 2020. Truly, because she should be embarrassed that she locked people up for pot or weed or whatever young people call it, and kept them in jail longer than they should have been for cheap labor or after exculpatory evidence was revealed. And then she says she's only had one client, the people, and this is the other thing, it's like the climate bill being the most impressive or biggest climate bill in the history. And as we all know, it's the only one. So it's also like the worst climate bill in history, right? It's the only one. You can call it anything. But my brain, the 20 million that she got for homeowners. Well, there were other attorneys general who wanted it to be more. And then she sort of signed her name to it after realizing it was going to fail, and then just took the 20. So now she gets to talk about that like it was such a great deal. But when you compare it to what it could have been, or when you talk about the $16 trillion Green New Deal that Biden compromised himself down to $500 billion for, it's not that impressive.
But I think that's why ultimately where we're at now is not where we're going to be in 2 weeks. So even though on the surface it looks like she has an advantage to winning this race, people have forgotten all that stuff about why people didn't like her in 2020 when she ran. So now, or 2016. So they're going to be reminded of these stories. So her upside is she's kind of peaked, is what I'm saying. I don't think so too, I don't see her growing her audience much. And she could only hope that Trump does disastrous things, that they're able to hide her as much as possible. That is a good bet. But her latest thing is when she's running around press and hopping on planes, she has her earbuds in, so she doesn't even have an opportunity. I'm on a phone call.
She's just really important. That's what I do because I can't stand my neighbor. I get out of the phone every time. I'm like, oh yes. I mean, out of the car. I'm like, yeah, sorry, can't go yet. She's doing that lame. Yeah.
Getting called out on that, getting called out by the press who are still debating, is it wrong that she won't talk to us?
Right.
Is it wrong that the person running for the strongest, biggest, most powerful position in the world won't talk to us? I don't know. Strategically, it makes sense. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I wrote something about her not giving interviews, and I just got slammed. It was so stupid, but by all these, libs who were like, oh, because interviews are democracy. Actually, we need to shine a light on the person you're supposed to elect. Yeah. We need to get money out of politics. And is that even part of the Democratic platform anymore? No, because they're all.
I don't know. They took torture out. They took. I think. Did they not take out ending Citizens United?
Citizens United. I think they did. Actually, that might have even happened in 2020. But that would change everything. Public funding and no money in politics and a cap and all of those things would change everything.
But here's where we're going already with it.
Yeah.
They're bringing back the Russia shit, this is Jill Stein related because they use it on her all the time. They always show that picture of Jill Stein having dinner with Putin at a table with 10 people, even though that same picture exists with Hillary, the exact same picture.
And Biden and Bill Clinton. I mean, come on. It's so stupid. And she was investigated for years about it and was
literal,
exonerated.
Congressional investigations on it. Nothing. So it's you can't keep using that stupid trope, but they are, of course.
But again, it's like the election denialism that they'll keep lobbing that at Trump, which, he is an election denier, but so is Hillary, and so is the whole Democratic Party, who blames it all on Putin and Russia every time they lose. But somehow 2022,
this
when
is
they
how
did better. Yeah.
Every comment in the chat should be this way instead of just, if you're gonna throw a good point Lila out there, just tack my name in there somewhere. Lila's killing it. She always kills it. I'm just here for the cat videos and shit.
Yeah, but that is nice. Yeah, Pat, you and I.
Thank you.
Together. Good team. Sorry, AT&T is calling me. Don't know why. Okay. Where do you want to go next on the whole?
Oh, they're obviously doing this thing now.
Yeah.
New York Times is saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was concerned when I saw this headline because I wasn't sure if they were going to blame it on the left, because I don't consider Democrats left wing, but this was actually being lobbed. I keep saying that, but written about Democrats, not about the left. It was about, can you imagine that some Democrats even said that 2004, that George W. stole that election. By the way, 100% he did, but okay. Because the person who is in charge, the company that was in charge of the electronic voting machines in Ohio, was also like the state attorney general. I mean, there was so much hinky stuff that went on, and he stole 2000 anyway. So like, we know that the Supreme Court instated him. But anyway, so there's that. There was the couch thing with JD Vance that they called like misinformation. And then there was one other, it was all dumb, like lib stuff, but it was not against the left. So I was just happy to see that.
I honestly despise the couch fucker stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this before, and I don't know how many people agree with me, but like, it's the unseriousness. Like, we have a genocide going on with our government behind it. And you're not running on policy, you're running on those guys are weird, and that guy fucks a couch and vibes and shit. And it's just, I don't think the public likes it. I think the public hates her running on this brat shit. I mean, I think they're trying to use it, but I think the public really does fucking hate it. Like, they put the brat stuff away. You're not hearing that anymore.
The other thing that I think is interesting is they keep saying she's not running on identity politics the way Hillary did. And they're right that she doesn't say those words, but everybody around her, it's the picture of her grandniece looking up at her. And this is, going to be historic run and like, so she doesn't have to, because everybody else is doing it for her to remind them.
They're trying to run on that. They're trying to run on, she's above all the electoral, like, I'm a woman, I'm black, which look, you should probably be above that. I get it as a strategy.
Yeah.
But they're also running on her as the Barbie candidate. They had a Barbie poster they put out.
Yeah, we
Barbie banner for your but like that stuff, we're not going to see it more of that. I think they're realizing that's a losing strategy. Like, it's not good. But the other piece they're running on real quick is they're trying to paint her as a change candidate.
Yeah,
which is crazy when you're the fucking vice president.
And she doesn't want to change anything except go even further right than Biden. The change is the Democrats have become wholly Republican. But the truth is that change started with Clinton in 92 when he took Koch brothers money and did the Democratic Leader Council, the New Democrats or whatever the hell. But change candidate. What are you talking about?
They're trying. They really are trying. Like, this is a breath of fresh air. And they're trying to leverage that she's a younger candidate to represent all this change. Like, young people, it's different. She's got the vibe. Right. She's tapping into the Instagram people. She's out there giving recipes. You go, girl,
Yeah.
But young people want policy more, a lot more than the older people, because the older people just don't want Trump. I mean, I'm using broad strokes, but they're rubbed wrong by his attitude, his presence, and they should be, but like, they're not materially affected by Trump. They're just, young people are materially affected by Trump and Kamala and the Democrats. So they want policy. Exactly. They want to pay their rent.
They want to pay their groceries. Rent. They don't want a climate disaster. They don't want a genocide. and they don't give a fuck about joy. And all the things that they tried to lob, the establishment tried to lob at Bernie about how he was just this old white man. And you would see like he was the most popular candidate with every single group under 50. And, you know, when you bring up actual policies that Biden has done at the border with migrants, his border bill, genocide, oil production, fracking, like all of these different things, these normie Dems have been so propagandized that it is still all about Trump's mean tweets. They'll talk about the Muslim ban. Why don't you talk to actual Muslim Americans, which of course that was disgusting and racist. And again, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be doing the exact same thing, giving more weapons. I don't know how much more we could be sending to them and a total carte blanche. But the reason that Palestinian Americans and Muslim Americans and Arab Americans are leaving the Democratic Party in droves, and some of them are even going to Trump. And also, by the way, Black Americans still, yes, majority of them are Democrats, but leaving and going to Trump. Clearly, the mean tweets don't resonate as much with the people that white privileged libs think or pretend that they are looking out for. Policy actually matters to people who don't have money, who aren't privileged enough to be completely, padded away from the disastrous policies that Democrats have enacted, which is, it's that thing that Chris Hedges always says, that Democrats are the more effective evil, because now Democrats are fine. They're fine with the kids in cages. They're fine with parent and child separation. They're fine with the border bill. They're fine with a fucking genocide. They're fine with the fact that we're, still fracking, that we don't have health care. Like, they're fine. They don't care. None of it matters except for a mean tweet.
Well, it's unbelievable. And yeah, the people most affected by policy are the ones that are now, after seeing 4 years of Biden's policy and 4 years of Trump policy, when you have Black people saying, 4 years of Trump wasn't as bad as 4 years of Biden, because that's what they're saying when they move to him now after they've seen both examples in front of them.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, because they actually get that. Yeah, they understand generally that he's a racist, but how is it going to affect my life? What did the Democrats fucking do? They took away the child tax credit. They let that go.
And they're just as racist. Crime bill Joe Biden. And by the way, sorry, Muslim ban, horrible.
Do not come. Do not come. That's Kamala.
Slaughtering 200,000 Palestinians. Worse, I'm sorry. I think that's like a tad worse. That's a 99% Hitler. Like, give me a break. Ugh, it is so revolting. I mean, they're Vichy Dems. You see how the good Germans, like, I never understood it when I would read about history, and you see them all goose stepping in line.
Yeah. So with all that's going on in the world, this is what Kamala put out today. I don't know if you saw this. She put this out today. This is her tweeting it.
Oh, wait. Well, okay, come on. The kids have to come forward. Come on, you guys. Okay, who do we have here? Hi, Evan. Nice to meet you.
Sorry.
No, you're working. You're working. This is all good. If you didn't, I'd be wondering, is he really working? Right?
Well, I wonder
there
that all
you
the
go.
time.
Well, of course.
Sometimes I think he just puts a little sauce on that shit.
She put that out. That vapid, empty. What is it? What is that saying to anybody?
Joy.
It's joy, but like,
I know. I mean, and Tim Walz, who I, sort of like, but like talking about like their whatever Instagram video was, giving out ice cream cones. And listen, I'm not saying that kids shouldn't have ice cream cones, but like we're seeing children without limbs, without heads. We're seeing, doctors and all of Gaza being destroyed, and universities and hospitals and libraries, and they're not talking about it at all. They have no plan to address it. They don't even care to try to present a plan. They won't even lie about, we're going to do Medicare for all. Like that actually might even be enough to say that. That might be enough. It's like very popular and people might feel like, oh, you're taking care of the US instead of just sending all the money over to war. Nothing. There's just nothing. And it is some, Stephen, I don't know who said, but like, it's sociopathic.
Dystopian as shit.
Yeah.
It's dystopian as shit to be out there during a genocide leaning on joy as your fucking campaign rhetoric.
Yeah. And you know, I do too. And the thing is, like, you know, when I look at somebody like Jill Stein and Cornel West and Claudia Dela Cruz, it's not that they don't feel like they have joy. Like there can be joy about what the future holds if we, you know, do these things that the people need and the people want. It's not like I resent somebody for feeling a moment of joy or trying to, but like back it up with something. Like take into account that the whole world is suffering right now.
You're going to be president of, you're going to have the most power in the world. If you could elect a CEO of your company, the employees get to vote. Are you going to pick the one who's like, hey, fucking throwing off little champagne poppers everywhere and just like, hey, this is great. Oh, you're such a nice guy. I love you. Hey, cheers. No, what are you going to do for the company? How are we going to grow? What's my salary going to be? What are you doing? You know, give us something. But, you know, I don't want to see a video of him walking around eating chicken or, you know, going to barbecue joints or handing out ice cream cones or like, what the fuck? This is too serious a moment for this bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. All
right, I'll shut up.
No, I mean, I agree. It is so frustrating. All right, let's see what else is happening here. Is there anything else that we want to talk about with this? We have a couple. Do we have another fun video, or are we just kind of?
I mean, we could show Mark Lamont Hill, but it's kind of like,
it's sort of the same thing. It just kind of, it's Jill Stein just explaining, like he basically plays devil's advocate. Why don't you support down ballot? Why don't you help the party grow? All the things that libs are saying, and it's everything that we just said. Like they have to secure ballot access, and they're stymied by all the lawsuits. Yeah,
I did see this, which I thought was kind of funny. You know, they're trying to swarm community notes to knock Jill Stein. So this is a proposed community note. You know, if you're in the group of community notes people, you see these notes, you vote it yes, no, that kind of thing. This is the community note they try to get in there. Jill Stein is not, in fact, against genocide. She's been spreading Russian disinformation and minimizing atrocities committed against Ukrainians for years. She's also denied war crimes and crimes against humanity committed by Assad. So they're pulling out.
They
all
are
the stops.
Really, really trying. All right.
Strike says we have to move on.
Thank you. Strike says, and a lot of people in the chat say, time to move on. Oz, thank you. I am empty. We are going to cheers to you. I'm going to cheers you as soon as I fill this up. We're going to add this to the stage. We're going to spin the wheel. And here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right, look at that. But take this time, everybody, to pour yourself another drink or smoke a little.
I think we might have to spin it again. It's a short one, but
This is the most election of our lifetime.
You can no longer be the manufacturing capital of the world. Where the hell is that written? We are the greatest manufacturing city or county in the world, state in the world, city in the world. We're going to remain that way.
I rectified it. I rectified it. I'm good.
I pulled that because he's stumping for, this is him trying to get her elected right here.
Why did they get rid of him? He's so great. Why would they have gotten rid of him?
We're the best country in the world, state in the world, city in the world, cinnamon roll.
The eyes make me sad. Like seriously, it's just awful. But
I mean, he's going to be out there so much. We're actually going to all start pitying him.
I will never, because he's disgusting. But yeah.
All right, let's spin it one more time.
All right, I'm gonna do it. Here we go. Look at all of those shots and
yeah, baby.
Is this our last puppet?
It is. I can upload one real quick, but I'll play this one.
We have other stuff though, so I'm gonna remove it for right now, right? Oh my god, Pat. That is some joy I can definitely get behind. Kimmy, thank you. I feel the same. I love being here with all of you guys because boy, there's so much to rail against, and so
that
appreciate all
video
of you. That was
reminded me of my parents' dog that I got them.
Yeah.
They have a gate, a metal grate that's about this high in their backyard. But anyway, the sprinklers are on the back side of it, spraying the park behind their yard. And so the dog would reach out as far as it could just to touch the water, and it would do the same exact thing. But
that's so cute.
I loved it.
I love it. That is very cute.
Let's get back to the misery.
Okay. We're moving on. So, it is horrible. Like, I'm never happy when somebody is killed. Like, so these 6 hostages who were just killed, it's terrible. We know it could have been prevented. The thing that they, right away, we've got Merrick Garland talking about, the terrorist organization of Hamas and what they've done, and Kamala talking again about, the sexual assaults on October 7th, and Hamas must be ended. And there's just, it's like it happens in a vacuum. There's no discussion about the formation of Israel. There's no discussion about even just talking 2023 in the 9 months leading up to October 7th were the deadliest year for the West Bank, not even Hamas there, for the West Bank in decades. That was before. That was when there was peace, according to everybody else that Hamas brought, or not everybody else, but all the, Western pundits.
But I want to remind people, Israel's broke all the ceasefire agreements they had before that. It was never Palestine never broke these peace agreements they had. Israel did.
100% from the beginning. And now they're even talking. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to put on my readers, Devin. Okay. So this is no doubt Netanyahu prevented hostage deal, charges ex-spokesman of Families Forum. So this is from April. Chaim Rubinstein claims Israel rejected early Hamas offer to free all civilians if the IDF didn't enter Gaza. He lays out the PM's alleged political meddling that led him to quit last month. So this spokesman for the families quit last month. There's no doubt that Netanyahu is preventing a deal. Netanyahu knows that if he goes to elections at this time, he won't be able to form a new government, and he's motivated by cold political considerations. We later found out after this meeting where he said, the big thing is he has to dismantle Hamas, which everybody, even Israeli generals, but also U.S. generals, they're not dismantling Hamas. Hamas has only gotten stronger since October 7th. People are signing up. They cannot sign up fast enough. So that's a project that's never going to happen. There has to be a political end to this. But worse is we later found out that Hamas had offered on October 9th or 10th to release all the civilian hostages. But the government rejected the offer. Hamas says that they would lay down its arms if an independent Palestinian state is established. That was in April. So, everybody knows that it is Israel and Netanyahu who are standing in the way of a ceasefire. By the way, they've killed more hostages than they've rescued. Then the other point that what's his name, Merrick Garland was talking about was the killing of an American, because one of the hostages was American, Israeli American, which again, horrible. But okay, when have we cared about that? Here, Israel killed the 3 hostages, one of whom was an American citizen, back in June. Oh, also, Israel killed these aid workers from the World Central Kitchen, right? Including American Jacob Flickinger.
Keep going.
Yeah, it never ends. Israel in February killed this 17-year-old Palestinian American By the way, in the West Bank, also, Israel killed Shireen Abu Akleh in 2022. Journalist, Palestinian American journalist, killed, press written all over her. And not only that, when they were trying to give her a funeral and a burial, IDF soldiers attacked the coffin and the mourners. So the fact that the US is now pretending that they care about their own citizens,
not in the least. And, you know, if you just look at the data, aid workers killed by Israel, 74%. So no one's out there making the case that aid workers, well, Israel is making the case that aid workers are Hamas, but nobody's making the case that aid workers should die. These are people helping on both sides. So nobody should kill any aid worker ever. But 74% of aid workers were killed by Israel.
I mean, they are targeted. And there's video showing how they are targeted. This is them targeting, which is, you know, that's a war crime. It's terrorism. Israel targeting a UN
clearly marked UN humanitarian vehicle, part of a convoy that had been fully coordinated with the IDF, was struck 10 times by IDF gunfire, including with bullets targeting front windows. The 2 staff members in the vehicle were thankfully unharmed.
That logo is probably one of the most recognizable logos in the world.
We have no way to assess the mindset of those who are shooting at us. We do know that the movement of this particular convoy was coordinated with the Israeli authorities. Whether the information wasn't passed down, whether it was deliberate, whether there was another reason, those are explanations we would like to get.
Really, I wonder if Israel's going to investigate itself, because also when the World Central Kitchen, they coordinated their movement with Israel in the IDF, and they were targeted.
And the U.S. helped to lay out where the workers were moving. So the U.S. is complicit in the targeting of these people, and you don't hit all windows unless you're trying to kill them. It's not an accident. You're hunting aid workers because they're helping these less than human people called Palestinians.
Yeah. So, you know, that's ceasefire and killing Americans. The third, you know, and we've talked about, of course, like the use of human shields, which B'Tselem even has said there is no evidence that Palestinians use Palestinians as human shields. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, the IDF has tunnels and headquarters underneath, you know, the main part of the city, and they use human shields repeatedly, including children that they, you know, like, I mean, put a strap to the top of their cars. They use them now instead of dogs. And this is from a Haaretz, which is not exactly, you know, pro-Palestinian. Israeli army uses Palestinian civilians to inspect potentially booby-trapped tunnels in Gaza. Our lives are more important than their lives. Gazans not suspected of terrorism are detained and sent as human shields to search tunnels and houses before IDF soldiers enter, with the full knowledge of senior Israeli officers, several sources say.
Here's the dogs one. I mean,
one soldier had been told Palestinian civilians were being used to replace the dog units that search for explosives because too many dogs had died. So there's your human shield. This
evidence,
just I mean, totally.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
that was sort of the overriding theme of the show, is that, you know, what you're most vocal about is your problem. You're lying. You're gaslighting everybody, and this is what they do. They attack. They accuse them of doing what they're doing. It's a strategic move. It's part of the Hasbara. It's all plotted as a strategy. And they're doing it, and the media in the U.S. is just like, okay, we have to do this, and they're playing along with it and elevating these lies.
100%. And, it was really unfortunate that today, or yesterday, I can't remember, but Hamas released a video. And so this is kind of gross. I mean, not kind of, it's disgusting on two different levels. Released a video of one of the hostages whom they killed, saying that the hostage saying for a camera that the hostages were moved 10 times just to escape Israeli bombing. So first of all, it's just like gratuitous and awful to release that sort of thing from a hostage that you've killed in cold blood. But the other thing is, hostage testimony is 100% always seen to be not reliable, and the probably byproduct of torture by the captors who are forcing him or her to say these things, right? You cannot take for granted or at face value the words of somebody who is captive by people, by an opposing army. But the thing is that is the only testimony that they have for this whole, like, Sheryl Sandberg, the silent screams, the whole rape atrocity lies, is a hostage, a Palestinian hostage who we don't even know if he's Hamas or what, sitting there saying, yes, we're told to use rape as a weapon of war. That's their one piece of evidence that they show. So, people are calling out the fact that Hamas did this with this hostage, which I agree with. But how is Sheryl Sandberg and Kamala Harris and all these people talking about rape as a weapon of war still now with not a shred of proof, when we have seen dozens of people since October 7th not only give testimony being backed up by Israeli doctors, and then also killed by rape, like M16s, rape by M16s, hot pokers, mass rape. They're arguing for why that's a good thing on Channel 12 in Israel. Like, we have evidence of that.
But I think even on an electoral level, like, it's a bad strategy to think we aren't seeing with our eyes what we're seeing, because they think people aren't attached to this Palestine thing as much as people are.
Yeah.
And we are. Like, I don't, the people that are going to go vote for Kamala to save Palestine, I don't think there are that many. There are people that are going to vote for her because they're scared of Trump. But if you're concerned about Palestine, she's the one in charge now. She's not, like, people are dialed into this. And when they hear her repeat these lies that they know already are bullshit, you only become more calcified in your position to say, I can't vote for fucking that. Like, she's out there lying about genocide on TV all the time. I mean, she's not on TV, but the Democratic Party is pushing this big lie.
Yeah, it's vile. And they got a slight reprieve because school wasn't in session. And I'm so happy to see him. We'll talk about it later, but school's back in session and the protesters are right back, which, that's fantastic.
And COVID's back too.
I know, we're going to get there.
Joy.
I know.
I'm bringing the joy.
It's all joy. All joy, all the time. Okay, so then this is the other thing. We talk about it all the time, but we pulled a bunch of clips today just as a reminder and to see how other people talk about Hamas. Not as terrorists. They actually aren't even designated as terrorists by the UN. Even, sorry, I gotta just get all of our things as backup proof. Hamas is not a terrorist group. They're a political organization. Even in the New York Times, and then this guy had to resign, but shortly after the war broke out, some editors and reporters complained the Times standards barred them from referring to Hamas as terrorists. The rationale from the Standards Department, run for 14 years by Philip Corbett, had long been that Hamas was the de facto administrator of a specific territory rather than a stateless terror group. Deliberately killing civilians, went the argument, was not enough to label a group terrorist, as that label could apply, quite broadly. Could apply to George W. Bush, could apply to Obama, to Trump, to like all of the US. And actually for a while, even the US had taken Hamas off of their terror list. But then we've got some good video from some of our good oldies. Who do you want to show?
Which one you want to roll with? We have so many options here.
I know it's pretty.
We have too many options.
You know what? Let's hear from the man himself.
But it is not terrorism, because what terrorists do is target the innocent deliberately, and therefore my definition of terrorism is the systematic and deliberate attack, the murder, maiming, and menacing of innocents, of civilians, for political goals.
All right. We've got a couple Noam Chomsky. Which one do you want to show?
Yeah, let's go with this one. It's about 2 minutes or so, but Noam has been on this issue for 40 years. I mean,
yep.
Probably one of the biggest things to credit him with, other than recognizing the flaws in capitalism and calling it out. But he's been calling this out specifically, boldly, forever.
They did oust a more brutal regime, the Taliban. There
wasn't even a war aim. There wasn't even a war aim. Wasn't even a war aim.
But is that a moral thing to do? They did get rid of a brutal regime. There was celebration in Canada.
Good, fine. And let them bomb Israel and get rid of the brutal regime there. This is the 35th year of a harsh, brutal, and vicious occupation, supported unilaterally by the United States, constant terror and atrocities. Suppose Palestinians say, well, we're under terrorist attack for 35 years, therefore we have a right to carry out suicide bombings.
Which is what they say.
Do you accept this? Does anybody accept it?
Nobody accepts it.
All right, then how come everyone accepts the Israeli claim to be doing it, which is a much weaker claim? They are the military occupiers. Those who defend suicide bombing, and they're very few, don't have a leg to stand on. Those who defend the Israeli atrocities, including the U.S. government, most intellectual opinion, a good bit of the West generally, yeah, they don't have a leg to stand on either, and they have a much weaker position.
How do you distinguish between that kind of what you describe as terrorism and what they are saying, Osama bin Laden, who's a terrorist? Make the distinction.
It's very simple. If they do it, it's terrorism. If we do it, it's counterterrorism. That's a historical universal. You go back to Nazi propaganda, see, most extreme mass murderers ever. If you look at Nazi propaganda, it's exactly what they said. They said they are defending the populations and the legitimate governments of Europe. Nobody except the ultra-right-wing jingoists like Kaplan is comparing atrocities by various countries. What honest people are saying is that we should pay attention to our own crimes and stop committing them. This would be true even if we were killing one person. Okay, and it's even more true when we're killing millions of people. What are the just causes? What was the just cause in, for example, slaughtering Kurds in southeastern Turkey? What was the just cause? What was the just cause in supporting Suharto when he killed a couple 100,000 landless peasants in Indonesia, went on to become one of the biggest torturers in the world, and then slaughtered a third of the population of East Timor? What was the just cause? What was the just cause when we invaded South Vietnam 40 years ago, ending up killing millions of people, leaving the country devastated, they're still dying from chemical warfare? What was the just cause? Can I continue? Yeah, the just cause for people like Kaplan is we did it. Therefore, it's a just cause. You can read that in the Nazi archives, too.
He's so good. And, I think more and more people are saying things like that, Norm Finkelstein also has, but on October 8th, I think it was like just the day after he was being interviewed. I think it was on Useful Idiots with Katie Halper and Aaron Mate, and he compared the armed resistance of Hamas to Nat Turner's rebellion and the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. And really clarifying for me. And I so appreciate that because, it's part of the reason, the one safe place for Jews where, Jews are not at all safe in Israel, but also not welcoming to Jews who don't support to toe the line. He was banned from Israel, Norm Finkelstein. So but he also has a lot of clarity on what it is. And it doesn't mean that there weren't atrocities committed, that there wasn't killings and all, but
if you're a slave, which brings us to Nat Turner, at some point you've tried everything, and they have tried everything forever.
They've tried everything.
They have not been liberated. They're locked in a prison, basically. So if Hamas is popular, and they weren't even massively popular in the country,
right? They weren't. Now they are.
They are the only ones fighting back. You have no recourse. Things are getting worse because it was the year that the most Palestinian civilians were killed. I mean, you can't help but embrace somebody fighting back. And now you're getting just bombed by everyone in the world. Everywhere you look, there's no safe place in the entire country. You're gonna say I don't support Hamas at this point? They're the only ones fighting for anything.
And Ansar Allah, absolutely. I mean, they tried the peaceful march, the right of return, in 2017 and 18, and IDF took turns trying to make as many Palestinians amputees as possible. They purposely shot them in their knees.
And the only thing that has ever worked for them is to take hostages in exchange for the thousands that are always imprisoned unjustly entirely. But Israel holds the Palestinians. So they were trained over the years, get these hostages, you'll get some of your people out. So we'll take 20 hostages, get 100 out, that kind of thing. And so October 7th they didn't intend to commit all the atrocities they even did. I mean, I'm not going to excuse them.
But that is true. They didn't know that Nova Festival was supposed to be there.
The plan was to get the hostages, to get more back.
Of IDF units.
They learned that from you, Israel. They learned that that's the only way to deal with you.
Yeah. And if Israelis think that slaughtering 200,000 people and razing a whole city to the ground, destroying every, as we've said, mosque, church, library, school, hospital, safe haven, if October 7th justifies these last 334 days, what does 1948 to 2023 October 6th justify for October 7th? You got to apply some logic there. And the idea of who is counted as a terrorist, I think it's really important to know that this started early. This was, from 1948, classified documents reveal the massacres of Palestinians in 1948 and what Israeli leaders knew. The acts of murder committed by Israeli troops during the War of Independence, cabinet meetings in 1948, the minutes from those leave no room for doubt. Israel's leaders knew in real time about the blood-drenched events that accompanied the conquest of the Arab villages. This is Ben Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel. We must use terror, assassination, and intimidation. We must steal their land and eliminate every social service to free Israel from its Arab population. This is from 1977. The acronym is, I wrote it out because I knew I wasn't going to remember. Defense Technical Information Center, DTIC, part of the U.S. government. Zionist terrorism in the establishment of Israel. How, and this is now from 2015 in the Washington Post, how terrorism helped found Israel. 2014, my things, am I freezing? Yeah, okay. The world stands disgraced as UN condemns Israel's attack on sleeping children. you know, this has been going on, and to call an armed resistance, by the way, and to assassinate in another country the lead negotiator of the political faction of Hamas. That was your, you know, colleague in trying to forge some sort of peace deal.
And that just happened, and 6 hostages were just killed, and like, to them, 6 of their people is more important than the top negotiator of the other team. Like, this is not a realistic thing. Like, you should be negotiating, obviously, but they don't. The point is, they don't want a deal. They never want a deal. They want to wipe Palestinians off the map, take all the land. Netanyahu wants to stay in power. The whole thing is to stay in power for him personally.
He has to control the entire area from the river to the sea, which we're told is genocidal language when it comes out of Palestinians' mouths, who say, and even Hamas says, we want to live in coexistence. We have nothing against Jewish people, but it wouldn't matter if it was my brother who's stealing my land and my homes. This is how we would respond. Okay.
I did want to add this real quick. That
Tell me.
As a glimmer of good news,
No,
at least,
I don't accept it at all.
a cat video. Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, their oversight board has finally ruled that from the river to the sea is not necessarily hate speech, which is ridiculous on itself, but it's a win, but not necessarily. But like, look, there he was just a second ago saying it himself. Netanyahu was using the same term. So,
and his actually is genocidal. I mean, that's the thing. His is.
Yeah.
I mean, think of all the grief that poor Rashida Tlaib got just for saying we want peace and to talk about Palestinians who have been occupied and dominated for years. And they called her anti-Semitic. It is so vile. Okay. Have we covered, or is there anything else here? I mean, I know we've got a lot of other stuff, but what do you think?
Well, we don't have any breaking news to report on it. I don't think so. I think we probably move on.
Right? We'll go to COVID.
Yeah.
More
bring some
news.
joy. Okay. It's all about joy now.
It's all about joy, folks. Here we go. All right, we're spinning. Oh wow.
I need to grab a beer anyway. So let's.
There's a lot of joy coming our way. There's like 5 slots of
joy.
No way.
This is kind of related.
No way.
Do you want to skip it? Or
I mean, we did just do it was another Chomsky on
here is Chomsky. I think we need a timeline cleanse.
I agree. Oh, I have a timeline.
Roll it. Oh, your poop one? Do it.
Yeah.
I got it. Here we
go. Wait, but don't you think everyone baby. When you're doing it we have to start it. I'm starting it because it was like too much. There was too much going on.
Too many chefs.
Pour yourself a drink or take a whatever hit, and you're gonna love this one.
Hands off.
Oh. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Fucker. Oh, God damn it.
Oh.
That's my favorite.
I'm so sorry. What do you need? Here, let me see. Oh no, there's more. Dash, here, you need to wipe it off.
Child abuse.
I did terrible.
Look different. Ew.
Cruel.
Oh, there's a pillow
I don't know if I love it or hate it. It is perfect for the shit. Lila, you took the the assignment too serious there.
I did. I should have been on Sunday. We had it on Sunday, but we didn't land on that. I know. I do sort of think that like I don't love when parents do these things and especially film it. It's awful. Like those things where they take the Halloween candy and pretend that they've eaten all of it. I'm not actually fans of that, but something about just like seeing something that's clearly peanut butter or Nutella and they're like gagging, it just makes me laugh.
Gag reflex too. I'd be that kid.
It
reminded me of the eggs on the head. Remember they were doing that one for a while?
Yeah. It's mean. I know it's mean. I don't know why. I think I laughed because it wasn't true. Maybe I'm just.
Lila hates her kids. Let's just put it all out there.
Don't leave me.
Is this what gets us canceled, Lila?
Can you imagine?
Go,
everybody's like, Lila's actually a big asshole who's not very nice to children.
Yeah. Vaccines are not real. There's no such thing as a virus.
Ugh. All right. Is that what we're going into now?
No,
is that where we are?
COVID, you know what? Oh. I'm going to force another timeline cleanse to get the poop off our hands. To get the poop off our hands. And this one is, I feel called out on this one.
Did he just order a? Oh no! Walking across the bar, man, you know I'm looking right at you. Drinking PBR, don't you know that stuff is garbage, dude? I drink IPAs, I'm here to say that now I'm judging you. Replace my personality with type of liquid I consume. If I was half as interesting as I was judgmental, maybe I would spend less time focused on alcohol percent. Though, would you like an unsolicited lecture on hops? Drinking used to be fun when you're with me, it is not. I wonder why people don't want to hang out with me. Wait.
Pat, you're much better at the timeline cleanse. That's gonna be a YJ from now on. That's all you. Your job.
So that video, I mean, beer snobs are obnoxious. I will admit it. I'm kind of a beer snob, but I drink whatever beer you need to drink. But I feel called out because that green beer he changed the label on was my favorite beer. He covered it up with some other label, but Pliny the Elder, so good. So good.
All right.
So, all right, let's pivot.
COVID.
We got COVID stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of COVID things going on. It's really bad. I think this is our third week in a row where we're over 1,000 deaths a week. Not talking about it. CDC has that nice calm green. What color can they find that when they get darker is going to make it calm? They went from the red to green, but you cannot make this calm.
Like looking. That blue is so like, oh, that looks
Michigan.
Pleasant.
What's happening in Michigan?
If you would think, if you didn't know anything about charts, if you were looking at a chart about threat levels, you're like, well, I don't see any red. I don't see any red because red is universally bad.
Oh, look at you. COVID
so I changed this from your chart to mine because you had the same thing, but without my quote tweet. Because I wanted to make this point. I want to put some optimism out to the world. This is a COVID tweet that got over 4,000 retweets. Like that is unfucking heard of. So like on one level, it's bad because it means look at all these people that understand this is real. And these are people who are sick from COVID, etc. But to get this many shares on Twitter, like people are very tuned in. So this is a window of opportunity to wake people the fuck up on COVID. It's
crazy to me that, I mean, and I really don't watch CNN or MSNBC or listen to NPR unless like we're, covering the debate or something like that. Are they talking about COVID at all there? Because I don't see anybody in a position of power talking about it. Friend of show Ernie Banks explained in terms of lesser evil, please. Look at the difference. Trump at the beginning, and like Trump was awful. He's horrible. The whole reason, like I mean, I know, like, why do I have to say this every time? Like, disgusting, horrible. The only reason Biden won was because we all thought he would be better, possibly, on COVID. I didn't vote for him, but I'm just saying, I think that was the thing that pushed him over.
That was absolutely what got him the win.
Yeah. And then look at that. The infections with the flippin' vaccine. And he still could not contain it because took away masks, took away OSHA protections, kicked people off. It took away the free test to treat, the free vax.
They're back though. Now that things are terrible
four for a
but
family.
The fact that they actually bring them back a little bit shows you just how fucked things are right now. They're like, we got to sneak this in here.
Yeah, that's for testing. This doctor who's been amazing talking about long COVID and always wears a mask to every Senate hearing or anytime he comes to present evidence. Whoops, my thing. Dr. Alali. So he writes about long COVID that we're now at 409 million people worldwide. This is a worker issue. So this is, Pat and I talk a lot. I mean, Pat especially is very outspoken every chance he gets about people who are, supposedly on the left who have completely abandoned COVID, whether it, and there's so many different ways you could come at it, whether it's this is the time to 100% argue AOC Pelosi for Medicare for all, but it's also a worker issue. People aren't able to work. They are, they are filing for disability. They're done. They're out. They cannot actually hold down a job.
400 million people.
Yeah.
It's unsustainable. And I just want to go back to this for a second. The point in this, every state barring Arizona and what is it? What's the state of? Someone help me out.
North Dakota? I don't know.
North Dakota who don't have data.
I have no idea.
So 2 states don't have enough. They don't even have enough data on a fucking pandemic right now to report things. This is the wastewater data, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is the only metric you can trust at all. And so now the right is starting to attack wastewater data like, oh, it's fake, but they don't have anything to back up that it's fake. You have to just disregard science entirely to believe it's fake. But they're all red and they're all either very high or high. There is no moderate. I don't know how Michigan somehow slipped in there as the moderate.
I know. I'm really wondering what is going on there.
But I did want to bring up another piece of why I think this got retweeted a lot, which is sort of a knock on me, but I'm not changing. But this got retweeted a lot, I think, because it didn't have any judgment to it. And so a lot of people that don't mask shared it just to be like, hey, be careful out there now. It wasn't like an attack on get the vax. It didn't have a message. It was just like, here's some information that the government is not telling you. Okay. But I also think the reason personally I'm not changing, the only thing I can do in my position, I think, is shame people in our position to fucking start covering it. And I think that shame has to exist and it doesn't exist. And so that's my role. But I think everybody's role is different. And if you're communicating with people, you want to have more empathy than I show to the podcaster class.
Well, it's so hard. One, because the podcaster class, or the fake left people who are like, well, oh, you're just a shill for Big Pharma. It's like, wait a second. We never tell people that they should get vaxxed, even though, I mean, I am a big petri dish. I am vaxxed. I'm very excited and boosted. However many times it's been possible, I've done it. Novavax has just been approved. It sounds, once again, it has a much broader efficacy or a much broader spectrum against the actual current variant, as opposed to Pfizer and Moderna, the mRNA ones, which is baffling because the whole point of mRNA, I thought, was that they could easily switch out and update, but they haven't. But now we don't even have free vaccinations. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, it's ridiculous. But the void on the left about all this COVID talk has allowed all these people that are 90% of their argument to start with was mRNA is this evil vaccine that is causing all these deaths. Right. But none of these people are out there going, so now that we have a virus, a vaccine that doesn't include mRNA, that is your traditional vaccine, which is what Novavax is. All these people that are silent on this, let this void continue to where Novavax is now not even good for anybody. They should be saying, look, if you didn't trust the mRNA vaccine because you listened to Jimmy Dore a lot or whatever reason, here's the Novavax vaccine. This is a regular old vaccine. Be worried about COVID. COVID is real. It's killing people. It's a workers' issue. Yada, yada.
Nope, not doing it. Ending free tests, ending free vaccination. When there was, and I'm actually shocked that this was in the Hill, but somebody said because of these huge spikes, like I think this is our biggest spike at a return to school time since the pandemic started. So in the Hill, they said maybe we should return to 2020 pandemic measures. Guess who popped in super fast to say, Ashish Shah, we and my fellow Columbia,
Former COVID czar. Former COVID
we
czar.
have very high levels of population immunity. No, we don't. Like what? Like, are we still talking about that? Everybody's sick all the time. Repeated infections. When does the immunity kick in? We had a large summer surge of infections, and our healthcare system was largely fine. We have to do more to protect our most vulnerable. But go back to 2020? No. Well, let's just, as a reminder, this was Pfizer's earnings call in May 2022. They were bragging to their shareholders. We also think a lot about demand, right? Like generating demand and utilizing the project. And I think the US gives us a good example of what you can see when utilization and adoption picks up. You heard from Albert's opening presentation that just in the last few weeks, we saw the prescriptions of Paxlovid grow 10 times. And just in 1 week alone, you've got as high as 80,000 prescriptions that were dispensed. How did we generate that demand? When you add this all up, we're seeing the fact that there is demand for this product. We also see the removal of the mask mandate, removal of the social distancing requirements that have been removed. You also know that in the EU, just in the last week, they've removed the emergency period of the EUA. That means that people are going to get out there. We know with all of that, infections are going to increase. And that's the role that Paxlovid can play. So when you are telling people to get out there and let it rip, and COVID was just a manufactured thing by Big Pharma and Big Government, you are actually playing into the hands of Big Pharma, because all of these people, even if you're taking ivermectin, that's produced by Big Pharma. Like, even if you're thinking you're like doing something off the, like if you're getting sick and you need any treatment, which they all do when they get sick, you are helping Big Pharma. And that's the whole plan of Big Pharma. Repeat it. We don't want to solve it. We don't necessarily want you to die. We want you to be sick long-term and need our medicine.
The biggest thing that was a dog whistle in there to donors, basically, is that, look, mask mandates are going away. So that's how we're going to make all this money, because no one's wearing masks. So when the you're a chill Big Pharma folks come for me or any of us, COVID accepting
I'm
people.
the only person wearing a mask. I'm a sheep.
Yeah. But when they accuse us of propping up Big Pharma doesn't want us wearing a mask, you dumb fuck. They want us fucking sick, you dumb fuck.
Right. And back to work and back to school. 100%. And then here is the cherry on top. Ashish Shah, and this is Adam Johnson, who's great. He does the citations needed pod with Nima Shirazi.
One of the few that are covering COVID.
Yeah. And he says, here's Ashish Shah. And this was, okay, so the way that we actually, just to go back a second, could have solved this if we had really wanted to, if Bill Gates wasn't one of the biggest fucking monsters on the planet, would have been when those vaccines finally came out, because those first ones were really effective against that initial strain.
They were tailored for the first wave. Yeah.
Whether it was Delta or whatever it was. Vaccinate the world, because we live in a world and people travel and they go internationally. And unless you're going to close everybody's borders and just keep everybody balkanized, vaccinate the world. That had been the promise when these companies were given money, taxpayer money, government funded companies, big pharma companies were funded by us, by our governments, for a public good. Vaccinate the world. And Bill Gates and Biden really used their influence. Bill Gates is the biggest donor to World Health Organization, biggest singular individual. I know they're like they're countries that give more, but like a person used his influence to shut down the waiver that these companies were like, they had committed to that they were going to waive the patent so that other countries in the global south were ready to go. They had the facility to do it. They needed the recipe, or however it works, release the patent, go vaccinate the world. And he said, no, we can't do that. And guess who was being interviewed to say he agreed with Bill Gates, we don't need to do that, was Ashish Jha on Ezra Klein's show. And what he failed to reveal was that he was a senior advisor at Albright Stonebridge, a firm that represents Pfizer on intellectual property issues. So there went that trip.
He was literally there, literally on TV to make the point of backing Bill Gates, because he is getting paid to represent the intellectual property of Pfizer. This guy became the czar, the COVID czar.
The corruption is so outlandish, and anybody who helps them get away with it by making fun of people who mask or whatever you do, you're helping the worst people in the world get us all infected and die. And I'm sorry, because as we're going on our rants, I am seeing that there are some people in the chat who are talking about their family and people who are sick, and it's horrible, and I'm so sorry, and it's really terrifying that you can go to the hospital even for something else and get COVID. Like, we've gone back a century. They're not even masking in cancer wards, which they always would do even before COVID. There are immunocompromised people who are, could be killed by your not masking, and we're just not doing it anymore.
And kids, look, the JAMA pediatric study. This was a big study that a lot of these people hung their hat on, that kids can't be harmed by COVID. Incidence of long COVID in kids is strikingly low. They took it back, and the authors fucking retracted it and apologized. So like, this is the thing people like Jimmy Dore and these fucking shills that are basically Alex Jones on the right now are pushing to people. They're still hanging on that. They're hanging on the mass study that is debunked. The author said it doesn't prove what you said.
Yeah.
So they're all hanging on this stuff, and they're pushing all this right-wing ideology that benefits Big Pharma more than anything.
And Wall Street, right? Get everybody back to school, everybody back to work.
Even if monkeypox breaks out, they're like, nah, we're just going to let it rip. We're already going to give you some notice that we're going to let monkeypox rip. We're going to lock up people now. We're starting to, the first person was charged criminally for wearing a mask.
Yep.
And here's the parties.
Yeah. Yeah, because here's the problem. So Democrats and Republicans greet COVID spike with a collective shrug, because Kamala and Biden want to claim that they have, beat COVID. What did he say? We beat Medicare, beat COVID. Cases surged over the summer, hospitalizing thousands, killing nearly 700 people in 1 week in late July. Now we're up to over 1,000 a week for the last 3 weeks. Still ranks as a top 10 cause of death and a disease capable of disrupting people's everyday lives. Voters do not like it being brought up at all, said Celinda Lake, a Democratic strategist and pollster for Biden's 2020 campaign, who marveled at the near total absence of masks at a Democratic convention where roughly 20,000 people crammed into Chicago's United Center for a week. They want to get beyond it. But the truth is, and this makes me crazy because people keep saying that, but it was back rigged or like retrofitted to make it seem like people didn't want to hear about it. The last time they did a poll, it was overwhelmingly popular. This was at the end of 2022. And Biden, by the way, had gotten rid of masks and all that stuff in 2021. But even at the end of 2022, a majority of people supported wearing mask mandates in indoor spaces. And What happened was Rochelle Walensky called it the Scarlet Letter, and Jill Biden said, doesn't the air smell sweeter? They made it seem like the public didn't want precautions. And the public said, well, if it were really serious, our government would look out for us. And so now they get to say, oh, no, the public doesn't want to talk about it anymore. That's not true, actually, as evidenced by your wonderful tweet and all the retweets.
Thank you. I'm here for I'm a true savior. But look, the thing about that is the public doesn't want to hear about it now, right? I mean, they're so committed, like psychologically, they're so committed to their, I just can't believe it's this bad because I've got my kids in school. Like everything is working against me as a parent if I'm sending my kids to school, getting it 4 or 5, three times a year, right? Or so
yep.
When you let your values, when you're led by Kamala's values haven't changed and that bullshit, but when your values are not the forefront of policy, when policy is driven by polls that say people don't want to hear about the fucking genocide or people don't want to hear about the fucking death and destruction that's ahead of them, so we're not going to talk about it.
Yep.
That's why we're not voting for you, because you're ignoring clear things that are fucking harming us. And the left needs to start talking about this shit. The left needs to get on board with this. It's so fucking obvious. You have to be in. If you're aware of any of this stuff and you don't talk about it because you don't want to rub your viewers wrong, goddamn, you're a piece of shit. Because this is more of a workers' issue than anything. This is kids. This is our whole future. I mean, 2 or 3 infections every year for the rest of your life. We know what happens with these infections now. It's unsustainable. This entire workforce, the whole country in 5 years is going to be disabled. I mean, this is a reality that we're facing right now.
I mean, it really is. Like, it's not an exaggeration. Climate, which we've barely covered for months now, is also, I mean, they're going to get us one way or another, but this is something, and again, like, I'm not a big pharma shill. I think they're reprehensible. Don't get vaccines or whatever. A simple mask, an N95, even a KN95, that is variant proof right now, And yeah, and I see people talking about COVID AIDS. I mean, they've been saying this since the beginning. This is an autoimmune affecting virus.
Yeah,
it dysregulates your immune system, just like AIDS. And AIDS has a 5 to 10 year latency, right? This is the beginning of year 5 for this. So, and they say, like, if you've had COVID within the past 6 months, don't try to get pregnant right now. What does that mean? If you've had COVID in the past 6 months, you can't give blood in certain places. This is so much bigger than what they're pretending it is. And again, like I'm not embarrassed. I don't give a shit. I'm like, I'm old. I've had 2 kids. Every gross thing that can happen to you on a table in front of a group of people in a hospital room happened to me. Like, I'm beyond embarrassment. I know my kids get embarrassed sometimes when they see me wearing a mask in front of their friends. When I say something, when people come in about, like, opening the windows, take a test, wear a mask, all those things. But, like, more embarrassing, not embarrassing, but, like, a worse result is you can't function in life. Like, when I got COVID for the first time in September, and I cough every night at 5. Like, it took me, I had to leave a concert an outdoor concert. Like, I was so uncomfortable 6 weeks after I started testing negative. I was lying on the ground for hours and finally just had to take a cab back. Like, I don't want that again. That's worse to me than putting on a mask. Like, what is the problem? I was on a plane a week ago and somebody, and I know I said this, but, like, tapped my shoulder to ask me to turn off my own personal overhead light. Okay, fine. I don't think it was great, but, like, fine. I will do that because if that's disrupting your sleep, I'm fine doing that. Put on a fucking mask so I don't have to breathe your COVID air. Like, are we all looking out for each other or not? Where does the communal effort end?
Yeah, and I say this a lot, and please, disabled people, I love you. I think we should provide community for you regardless. But the framing about this is like the masks are just to protect the disabled. That's sort of like that's what's out there in the world for the normal people. They think, well, if you get it, they're like, I had COVID, it sucked, I got over it. Okay, that's what happened to you the one time you had it or the second time you had it. But bigger than that is the long-term effects that everyone is going to face. So like I think the framing that is just protect the people that are really the weakest in society somehow is like so wrong. Protect everyone. Like you're ignoring kids in this situation, which is the astounding part to me. You're just going to let kids. You didn't fight for clean air systems in schools that are not expensive.
That, by the way, Ashish Shah's kids have at his fancy like Newton, Massachusetts school.
Yeah. Oh, and Cora, thank you for bringing that up. Bree actually, for the first time, she shared. It was an interview Leslie had with friend of the show. What's her name?
Julia Doubleday.
Julia Doubleday, and I didn't listen to it, but I appreciate that she actually went there. Maybe she's going to get a little more on the right side of this issue.
Yeah, I think, and again, framing it only in deaths, which is, I mean, that's horrible, but like long-term health issues. And once, I mean, I know we had on Dr. Howard, God, 2 years ago, the one who wrote a book called Let Them Get Infected. It was basically like taking down the Vinay Prasad and all the Brownstone Institute, like what was the thing that let them get infected? What was that push? I can't remember what they called it. Anyway, the let it rip philosophy.
Yeah.
And back then I said the thing about it being airborne AIDS, and he pushed back a little bit.
Pushed back hard on it.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that once you've been infected, thank
Barrington
you.
Declaration.
Great Barrington. Yeah, thank you.
It's bugging me too.
Great parent. Yeah, thanks. Thank you,
But once you're infected.
But once you're infected, you're considered somebody who has a comorbidity or immunocompromised, right? Like, because who knows? And he kind of pushed back on that also. But that is what is going to happen with any time, like for your insurance, medical insurance, because people aren't even you're not necessarily testing and then submitting it. You used to have to, right? Like when my older son got it when he first went to college, he got tested and he had to submit it to the LA County and all this kind of stuff. And there were all these protocols. None of that happens anymore. So there's no documentation if you've had it in the first place. So then if you get long COVID, then they can't necessarily tag it back to the fact that you ever had COVID. So now you're kind of just like floundering with some like.
No, the formula was contact tracing, treatment, prevention, all that stuff. We went from contact tracing, which you actually like, oh, I got sick. Let's protect these people that we know got sick or could have been exposed to this, to just bring COVID to school. Just bring it to school.
If you don't have a fever, you're fine.
Yeah, bring it to school. Give it to everybody.
Meanwhile, as a reminder, 49, and this is recent. Like, let me put my glasses on because this is not, this isn't from the like 2021 thing. 49% of COVID infections are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. So the thing of like, oh, I'm not caught, like we're fine, I don't have fever, like everybody's fine. No, you might not even know it. And that not only can you spread it, it also can still affect you. Like you might develop something down the road and you won't even know. The difference is at Davos and the White House, they were, I mean, I think they stopped actually testing at the White House every day, but everybody was being tested with PCR tests. So you knew if you had it, even if you didn't have any symptoms, which is important for treatment and for prevention of spread. Like, oh, anyway. All right.
But in this country, tests are like $10-20. I mean, it's absurd. And that makes you rightfully hate Big Pharma. But you shouldn't think COVID isn't real because you hate Big Pharma. You shouldn't think masks don't work because you hate Big Pharma.
Yeah,
you should say, oh, I'm going to try to give as little money as possible to Big Pharma by not getting fucking COVID because they want me to get COVID. They want me sick. My government wants me to work in lieu of my own safety and protection.
Yep. Yep. I really don't understand how the left just walked away from this.
Cowards. All cowards.
It's just so strange. It is such a galvanizing issue for so many of the policies we all care about. Okay. I feel like I did not exactly bring the joy tonight.
You brought the poop prank. What are you talking about?
I brought the poop prank.
Come on.
Is that me again? Oh my goodness.
And you're going to go out on that?
On a phone call.
Jesus
okay. I think did we do it? Are we there?
I think, yeah.
I think we did it.
Let's call it right. 2 hours is our
2 hours is our golden time frame. Okay. You guys are awesome. I have to say, so proud of my fellow Columbia students who are back on campus.
Oh, yes.
Did not miss a beat. If the Democrats thought they were going to get a reprieve, they were wrong. The genocide continues. It's abhorrent. I can't believe this is the world we're living in, but thank goodness for these young people who it's not included in the video we're going out on, but they're right back to arresting him. The Gestapo cops are right back there knocking heads to protect Capitol and genocide. So
yeah, they're kicking ass. They're like, I don't care what you kick me out of school, lock me up, whatever. This is too important. And that's how it should be right now. And amazing on them. And we have to get it done before the cop cities are built. We need to stop the cop cities from being built. But now's our best moment to fight, push back on this shit. So they're killing it.
100%. So cheers to them. Cheers to all of you. We'll see you guys Sunday. Keep punching up.
Cheers.
Cheers.